Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
How have you been?
Good, how are you?
Good. This is Paige. She's gonna film our lesson today.
Hi.
Yeah. Just pretend like she's not there. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll head over this way.
She's good now with, like, if I tell her no, I tell her no, and then I'm like, I'm gonna buzz you, and then she gets off the couch. That's
Okay.
what I always told her, but
Okay.
she does pretty well with that.
Okay. With the e-collar, the one thing with the corrections is that ideally we want to get to a point where the behavior is just eradicated. So not even that she's listening to the no or kind of like the threat or the warning of it, it's that she just doesn't attempt the behavior ever again. So with something like that, it's still important to, like, if you had to say no because she was performing the behavior, then we have to hit the button. Because we want her to know that the no is just simply marking the wrong choice, and then the correction's the punishment for it. Because if we get into where we say no and then we don't hit the button, she's always gonna know that she gets to do it at least once. And with the issues that you're having with her, we want 0. You know, we don't want just once type of thing going on. With the couch issues, is that something where, with the issues that you're having at home, with the resource guarding of the space, with the kids and all that kind of stuff, I would say probably just removing furniture privileges altogether is probably the safest option at this point. Down the line, once we've got a better handle on things, you might be able to like reintroduce it. But right now, I would say probably just altogether no furniture stuff. All right, girl. So we are going to work on both the sits and the beds today. And we're gonna start adding in the verbal cue, and we're gonna start adding in a little bit of the e-collar pressure. So in the same way that we used the prong last time, as like pressure goes on and then goes away as soon as she completes the behavior, we're going to just start overlaying e-collar pressure over top of that. So they're happening simultaneously. So I'm gonna figure out kind of the lowest level that she feels the collar, and we'll go from there. Oh, I know, you did this last time. You have to stay with me.
That's what she does in the backyard.
Does she?
I don't know if it's because she just sees the backyard as her, like, time to run and do whatever, but I'm just
Sure.
not getting her focus in the backyard.
There we go. Sometimes you have to go through this period in the beginning with certain dogs where you just kind of have to make them do stuff because she's so used to kind of doing whatever she wants to do and utilizing certain techniques to get her way with stuff like that, that it's been very self-reinforcing, and it's just something that she's kind of patterned. So when those temper tantrums arise and she does stuff like that, you just kind of have to keep showing her that, like, I mean, you can keep trying that, but ultimately you're still gonna end up right back where we started, and you're gonna have to do it anyways. Kind of like a kid who protests brushing their teeth. I mean, ultimately you're gonna have to do it, so. All right, I think we'll do about a level, here we go. Did you see that tiny little head twitch? She was like, what was that? We'll stay at around like a 6 or 7 for right now. And basically, when we're pressing and holding the button, it's going to continuously stim the e-collar. And again, we're on a level that is annoying. So that's kind of where we want to be for this kind of stuff. Enough that it's motivating, but not too high. And we're going to overlay it with the prong. So basically, okay, Lulu, sit. Good. I'm going to give her the verbal cue first. That's just the air. I'm gonna give her the verbal cue first. And if she does it just with the verbal cue, that's great. If she needs a little bit of help getting into the position, that's when we're gonna add the leash pressure and holding the button. And then as soon as she sits, we let go of the button and we release that leash pressure. Okay, we'll still do our okays to release her. Lulu, sit. So there, I'm gonna press and hold and release. Okay, I really don't care what her orientation is, where she is, anything like that. As long as she's like relatively close to me, I'm okay with that for now. Even though she's staring at you the whole time, I'm okay with that. Okay. Sit. Good job. And now we're just gonna enforce it. So if she gets up prematurely before we say the release word, just like we reinforced it last time with just the prong, you're just gonna do the same thing, just also adding in the e-collar. Okay?
I can't get her to like she listens to me, but I feel like I'm such a pushover, so it's really hard for me to like stand my ground also.
Yeah.
But but she needs to learn to be a dog. Like if I'm out of town, she won't use the bathroom, she won't eat, she'll hold it for 24 hours before she she needs to learn. Which is fine.
Yes. Yes.
And see, like, I mean, I'm sitting here and she just,
yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes. I'm glad that you recognize that. Yes. But it's good, truly though, it is good that you're recognizing that, because that means that you're gonna be able to like picture the long-term reason you're doing this. And that's what you need to remember in those moments where it's hard, right? Like where it's hard to correct her, or it's hard to stand your ground or to have those standards. You have to remember that in the long run, you're doing what's best for her, and you're gonna open up her world dramatically to where being 10 feet away from you isn't like this life-ending experience for her.
There was a dog that was off leash. He was friendly, but
Sit.
he wanted to run up and say hi to every dog that came over him.
Sure.
And she was giving him signs that she didn't like him. And
Yeah.
finally she like quickly turned, and my friend said that she snapped. I didn't
Sure.
see it.
She was on leash during this. Were you down in like the off-leash dog beach area?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I kept her on leash the time. I guess because my friend had said, like, don't correct her at first, because she needs to be able to say, hey, I don't want that.
Sure.
So I didn't come, like, how do I
Yeah.
go about it?
So I would honestly say that until we feel comfortable with her off leash in environments, I wouldn't take her anywhere where other dogs are likely to be off leash. Because what's gonna put her at a disadvantage is if a dog approaches her when she's on a leash, she's gonna feel a lot more defensive because she doesn't feel like she has the option to leave or get away, which would probably be her first choice. But because she couldn't, that's probably why she got more defensive. So I would say ultimately to just avoid that situation altogether and just avoid those areas. If you were approached by an off-leash dog while she's on leash in an area where it's not allowed, then I would say you need to advocate for her and make sure the other dog goes away. So put yourself in between the two of them, shoo the other dog away, ask the owner to come get the dog, whatever it might be, just so that way she's not put in a situation where she's unnecessarily uncomfortable and overwhelmed and things like that. Okay. What we'll do over the next few sessions is we'll do some socializing with her here too. So that way we can give her some good experiences with some very like stable, neutral dogs that are gonna communicate really well and be very respectful of her. And the more that we expose her to dogs and kind of gradually increase her confidence level and her comfortability, you'll see her willingness to like engage and play and do stuff like that come out a little bit more. Okay? Have you always been a Crocs person? I'm about to become one. I've held off for so long, and then like my husband got a pair of them and I've been stealing his, and they're way too big for me, but I'm like, I think now I need to just get a pair of Crocs. I was looking at them online today.
The only things that are comfortable for me.
Yeah.
Like every pair of shoes I have, like my back hurts and my legs hurt after work, but Crocs can be really cool.
Really? That's nice. The owner here, David, sometimes he comes to work in Crocs. And I used to make fun of him, but I'm like, oh no, now I'm probably gonna do that. Very good.
You sit.
Very good. Nice work. I just love her ears. When you were in your backyard and she was kind of throwing her fits and stuff like that, did you eventually work through to a good spot? Or were you kind of like, I'm just not gonna do it?
I try not to like get frustrated and
Yeah.
so I kind of, I just took her, like we would just go down the street, we would just go
Okay.
outside.
So she was fine other places, just not in the yard. Okay. And it's funny that you brought up the getting frustrated thing, because emotion in dog training is something I've been thinking about recently. Because I agree, you know, you don't want to ever be like frustrated or angry at your dog when you're training, but I do think there's something to be said for being frustrated about the position that you're in with your dog and using that as like fuel to be like, we're just getting this done. Like, we're taking care of this at this point because this is absurd. You know what I mean? So it's like the way you interact with her should not be angry or frustrated or overly emotional or anything like that. But I think that there's definitely, you could use being in the position of like, this is my house, you need to listen to me type of thing. And then just pushing through it and being like, we're just gonna get this done today, Lou. Like, we're not gonna be putting this off and off and off and letting you continue to manipulate this and, you know, take over the environment and all that kind of stuff. There's definitely something to be said for that part of it too. 'Cause it's not that I think dogs are like diabolical, you know, and necessarily maliciously trying to be manipulative. They just know it works. You know what I mean? And so they continue to perpetuate it over and over again because she's like, if I throw these temper tantrums and these fits, mom gives up and then I get to go do whatever I want and it works. And so one of these days you're just gonna have to be like, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. When I say that you're gonna come over here and you're gonna sit, you're gonna do it. And then that day that finally happens, she's gonna be like, oh, okay, the rules are changing around here.
See, I feel like this is like, now she just doesn't want to listen to me.
Yeah. Very good. And what you're probably fighting right now, because you could arguably say that like, she knows that what the word sit means, right? But what we're fighting right now is not a lack of necessarily like her knowledge per se, but we're fighting the inconsistent enforcement of it. And so she's learned that like, sometimes I have to, sometimes I don't. Which one's this gonna be, type of thing. So this week, we're just gonna give her the benefit of the doubt and be like, every time I ask you, if you don't do it, I'm gonna help you into the position and start reshaping that there's never gonna be a time I tell you to sit that you don't have to do it, to start switching her mindset a little bit. Once we move on to the next session after this week of practice, we're gonna transition from I'm helping you to now I'm just correcting you for non-compliance because I'm 100% confident you know the command, the criteria, the expectation, everything that goes along with it. Oh, very nice. Good work, Lou. I know, I don't feel it either. I don't feel it until he gets to like 10 or like 12.
Yeah, well, I felt a little bit, but I took her
Yeah.
to that 40 like you told me, and that's when I was like, oh.
Yeah. And so for me, when we're teaching commands and using it in this mechanism, I like to stay in like the annoying range. When we're trying to correct behaviors that we're trying to get rid of, or we're trying to correct for non-compliance of obedience commands, typically you're in like the alarming range, where it's more of like, oh, okay, yep, felt that, don't want to feel that again, cool, I'm done. The levels that are like devastating, I tend to reserve for like very dangerous behaviors that it's like, I want to only correct you for this one time and then I want it to be done. Or if we're proofing like off leash and the dog like takes off after a prey item or something like that, then I'll go to those really, really high levels. But most of the time we're in like that alarming range where it's very motivating and the dog is like, I would rather avoid that than feel that again. That's why it's so important to make sure that you're not giving those like warnings instead of just correcting for the behavior. Because then you end up living a life where you're constantly micromanaging and nagging her, rather than just knowing that like, I corrected you for it, we're done with that, you're not going to do it again, and now we can move forward type of thing. And ideally, through the training, organically, her confidence is just going to go up with having a sense of like stability and structure and predictability with your expectations. So you should, like you just described, start to see an organic change almost, even though we're not directly addressing it yet. But there will come points where we are going to directly address it, and then you'll just see it drastically improve then at that point. This week, I would say, we'll probably, on top of correcting for like the barking issues and stuff, we're gonna start just no furniture. Okay. So anytime she's on furniture, no correction on the e-collar, okay. And we'll still do like that 40-50 level. I would say this week, when she's roaming around the house, you don't have to use the prong collar necessarily, but just even like her regular collar, hook a leash to it and let her drag it around so that when you correct her for the furniture, you can then grab the leash and pull her down, just to give her that clarity of you're being corrected and this is how I want you to respond to it, is to get off the couch. So that way you can help her understand the correction a little bit more. Lulu, nice work today. You did great. Yeah, I used to train horses before I moved into the dogs. So
similar?
It is, yeah, it is. There's a lot of concepts that are like super similar. There's some, I would say like what drives their behavior can be very different because you have prey versus predator mindset, which is a little bit different, but like the whole pressure release concept, it makes sense why your timing is so good with stuff because you've done it with horses. A lot of my clients that work with horses or have worked with horses, like their leash handling skills are way better because of like long lines and like stuff like that and everything. So it's kind of funny.
I think I got the tactic down. She's gonna get better with the class.
Seamus, you just scared the shit out of me. Did he go out? I think so. I think he went out. Check those rabbits. Thanks, whoever. Oh, he's right here. Just pick him up. That's mine. wait for him. Sorry, Sunny. That's good. We shoot that over here. I just didn't want to touch him. I mean, he was almost out. He was so close. I know. He was so close. He's on the cord.
Oh, yeah.
How can I help? Is he behind there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can reach down and grab him. need the grabbers.
I don't mind touching him and
I
just
don't
picking him
mind
up.
touching
It's kind of just tight. I mean, if you're...
We can try.
Let me see if I can reach down in there.
Paige will watch like, please keep recording.
Here, you hold this. If he flies out, I'm gonna catch him with your hoodie.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, there he is.
Oh my gosh, this song. I can't.
Give me that glove, Sunny.
This? Yeah.
The music too. I know, it's just really adding to the situation. Yeah, we'll just blanket up.
We're up, okay. Yeah, you hold that.
We're saving the bird. Tell us
We
all
live
about the bird.
Who don't want to be saved? I'm pulling this out of your way. Does he know we're trying to help him? Where's that? The weights came off.
The shade should fall down.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh dear.
My arm is that long.
He was so close to freedom.
He was so close. Why didn't he see the door?
Where was he? He was down in one of the rafters.
Make sure you get
This is yours. I mean,
Do we have another towel or blanket? Okay, I'm gonna reach in, which means it might kind of slide up.
Yep.
God damn it! Hold on. He's on the brick wall. He's on the brick wall? Where?
where?
Right there? Okay, hold on. I'm scared! Throw the blanket again.
I got Daria's blanket. Michelle, this is a 5-minute video right now.
Paige is gonna love this. Hi guys, welcome to a segment I'm gonna call Where Are They Now? And basically, I'm gonna give some updates directly from the clients on some clients that I've had recently. And we will start with, let's see, why don't we start with Doppler? So Doppler was that big American Bulldog mix that, wild. He was a wild boy, okay? A wild boy, as you'll see from this footage. We worked a ton with him, okay? And then I just got an email update from them that was beautiful, and I will read it for you. As a little bit more context, he had very severe aggression issues with anybody other than his 2 owners. Anybody outside of the family, any dogs, anything like that, they would take him outside at like early AM hours to avoid everything. He would intensely react even to wildlife, things like that. The female owner was very uncomfortable having any part in handling him because of how strong he was, and he would pull her down and drag her and just completely out of control. And so, here's our update. Hi, Michelle. I wanted to give you an update on how things are going with Doppler, as the last few weeks have been very active for him. Here's an overview of what he's experienced this month. He went to the vet for his checkup with Neil. You can only assume how rough their vet visits were previous to doing training. The vet's office noted in his file how much he's improved dramatically. Neil said he growled one time. Doppler did well with the other animals in the waiting room where he sat nicely before seeing the doctor. Neil advocated for him and let the staff know about his fears, so the staff tried to be cognizant of it. We love that. We love some good owner advocation to make sure that, remember, you know your dog best, especially if you've gone through training. You know what works, you know what procedures you have set in place, and even in a context where you're dealing with another person of authority in their field, it's okay to set standards and advocate for your dog on what you know is going to work best for them. So that's fantastic. These clients have an adult daughter, and that was a big point of contention previously because Doppler, again, was completely unaccepting of anybody else outside of the family. He had been aggressive towards this daughter in the past, and they said that she joined them at the house for about 2 hours, where Doppler did amazing with her. He held his bed stay until we released him. When he was comfortable, he got up. He kind of preferred to stay away from her and avoid her, but didn't show any signs of aggression. They went outside for a walk, and they all walked around the neighborhood, and he did fantastic. She also says their roofing was being placed at their condo, which was a lot of banging, large machinery, and people were everywhere. She said at times they did have to give him a correction, but 90% of the time he was very calm. She said she was able to take him outside and have him sit anytime he started to get overwhelmed, and he would calm himself down and remain focused. Thank you so much again for all of your hard work. He's completely changed from where he was last year, which is wonderful. So that is a pretty killer update. I'm very happy about that. That dog, ow, he gave me some bruises. I was looking rough after that first session. Now we're gonna move on to, and just to be clear, the reason Doppler is doing so well right now is because his owners were like killer. They were some of the best clients that I've ever had. So they took things so seriously with him. They did everything I asked them to do. They love that dog, and they just put their heart and soul into that, and it very clearly shows. Now we're gonna move on to our guy Sparky. So Sparky is this old man dog, okay? I love him to death. He was very whiny, loud. They started his training, he's either 10 or 12. He's an older dog.
Yeah. I think he's probably just feeling a little trapped in that moment, huh? Yeah. Okay. He said, listen, I'm trying my best. Come on, buddy. Oh, good job, Mr. Man. All right, so we're going to work on our come command here. I know you got yourself all tangled up, Sparky. There we go. Sparky, come. I know it's hard. You're with Dad now. Now we're going to do a little bit of leash pressure to just enforce it for right now. A little bit more.
Still no.
Good job. Not yet. Not yet. I want to give him, since this is really difficult for him. Yep. Good.
He's had very, very severe anxiety and separation issues and stuff like that his whole life. They have a vacation home, a condo that they go to, and their main goal when they started this training was, we need to be able to go and not have noise complaints from the neighbors of him barking nonstop all the time. So that was our main goal starting this whole training. He was a little bit of a convoluted guy, so we had to peel back some layers, do some work. We got him to a really good spot. We did implement a bark collar with him because he needed some accountability when they weren't home on his barking, and that was a great, great tool for him. It helped immensely. And here's the email that we got from them. She just sent this to me. She said, just want to let you know that the bark collar is fantastic. We're in where their vacation home is for the second time and have had no problems. He's calm, well-behaved, and a delight. I never would have thought we'd end up on such a good place. All thanks to you. Thanks. No, not all thanks to me. All thanks to you, okay? We did it together, all right? I can only give you the things to do, and if you don't do them, but she did them. And Sparky was not an easy guy, but he's made a ton of progress, so I'm very proud of that one. And then our last one we're going to talk about today is our buddy Coda, big Rottweiler. David did an assessment with him a while back. He's a little bit of an older client, but this update is recent. And he had a lot of handling issues, kind of some typical Rottweiler behaviors. Didn't like being handled, restrained, did not like new people, just kind of a bratty, pushy type guy. So we did sessions with him, made huge improvements, and then so I have kind of two separate updates. One from February, she messaged me and she said, we just left the vets, Coda did amazing, we used the restraint hold that you showed us, thank you so much for everything. Going to the vet, he had to be knocked out, sedated. This guy was not good at the vet. We worked a lot on handling. I did show them how to do like a veterinary hold because the husband is a pretty big guy and he felt comfortable doing that and just giving Coda a little bit more of a sense of like, this is happening, you got to deal with it type of thing. And they said that they implemented that and it went great. So I'm very happy with that. The most recent update from May, scary, but this is why it is so important to address these issues before you need to have them addressed, because I fear that if we had not done all of the work that we did, that this would have panned out completely differently. So she said, I wanted to let you know that over the weekend, Coda had GDV surgery. So that's bloat, where their stomach flips. And that is like almost always fatal. It's very rare that a dog is you're able to figure out that they have it happen and get them to the emergency room in time for them to be able to do surgery to fix it. So I'm so thankful that he's okay, and that's incredible. And she said, that was the scariest thing. First, he's okay. Luckily, we immediately took him to the ER. But second, he was such a good boy while we were there. We did muzzle him, but the entire stay at the hospital, the tech said he was so great for them. And I still wanted to thank you again for all of our training. So I think that in and of itself is such a good testament to being responsible and addressing any potential issues that you think your dog could have in the future in preparation for that moment. Because you never want to think that something like that is going to happen to you, but it could. And I fear that if he hadn't been as good with handling as we've gotten him to, that could have delayed him being able to get the help that he needed to be able to save his life, honestly. So I think that those updates are pretty rad. And please keep sending us updates. If you're our clients and things are going great, please let your trainer know how great things are going. Or if they're not going great, reach out to us too. But if things are going great, it means so much to us to get these little updates and know that like you guys are still doing good, you still find benefit in your training, and that the dogs are happy and thriving, because that really encourages us and makes us really enjoy the work that we do. I know that some days if I'm having a rough day, I'm like, can go back and read all of these and be like, okay, like the work that we're doing here is like so important, and it's really changing lives for both the owners and the dogs. So we appreciate those updates more than you guys probably know. So please keep sending them. But I hope you enjoyed our Where Are They Now segment. We're going to keep doing it. Paige is laughing at me. We're going to keep doing it. We do need a song. We'll come up with a jingle. I can't think of one on the spot, but I'll come up with a jingle.
That's your homework.
That's my homework. All right. Thanks for hanging out. Bye, guys. Was there any issues you encountered? Anything that came up?
The only thing I can think of is that, like, when he doesn't have the shock collar.
Sure.
And we, like, say if we just tell him no for something.
Yeah.
how do we enforce that? Like correct it,
Sure.
give him a correction after we tell him no if he's not wearing the collar.
Sure. So, do you have specific times that's happened that you can think of?
It would have to be in the house because
In
he
the house,
doesn't always
yeah.
have it on in the house.
Okay.
We don't keep it on him in the house all the time. Only when
Sure.
we have like the front door open
Got it.
in case there's like traffic coming down the sidewalk.
Sure.
Which just hasn't been recently because it's been hot, so we
Yeah.
have the air. So we're
Sure.
gonna,
I would say probably my resolution to that would be for a while, you just have to be a little more consistent with putting it on. So overnight and when you guys are gone, that's when you can take it off. But if you're home with him or around him in any capacity, I would just keep it on. So that way you're never caught in a situation where you need to correct him and you can't give the appropriate correction for it.
Like being lazy around the house, taking naps and,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And there will certainly come a time, like long term, I would say,
he's doing this, should I?
nope, as long as he's staying in a sit command, I'm okay. He can voice that he's uncomfortable as long as he doesn't act on it. If he were to get up, that's when you would correct him.
Let him, like when on our walk, like we let him sniff.
Sure.
Like he wants to stop and sniff. It's like, yeah, we have to. We gotta
Sure.
let him sniff. He's outside taking a walk.
Sure. But yeah, I'm okay with him being uncomfortable and saying he's uncomfortable with Paige, but if he were to like get up and break the command,
As much as it is the other dogs, like you can hear the crying and whining. I think that's
Sure.
more what it is.
it could be that too. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, either way, as long as he's not physically acting on it, I'm okay with that for right now.
And then I know you asked a question again last week, right when we left. Were we going to do anything with the tone
Oh, yeah,
feature on
okay.
his e-collar?
Generally, no.
Okay.
Generally, no. Because usually a tone would be more for, sometimes people use it as markers, things like that, which we just use verbal markers with the dog. Sometimes people use a tone as like a warning before a correction, and I just don't believe in warnings. I think that if you need corrected, you just need corrected, and we just do a correction. So generally, I don't use the tone in the program at all. Was there like an idea that you had with it, or?
The only reason I even asked, or I even had like a question about it,
Yeah.
is because it's on here.
Is that
Yeah.
a specific
Because
feature on
it's
the
Exactly.
on here for a reason.
Oh yeah, I would say that.
Before we started the class, we were, when we were looking into where we were going to take them,
Yeah.
before we decided to come here and do this, like we did watch like some e-collar training. And
Yeah.
basically, there was like there was one video we watched where the guy did use the e-collar
Mm-hmm.
the way that you are having us use it on him. Which
Yeah.
is totally, we get it. It's
Yeah.
fine. But later on, as the dog was used to it and
Yeah.
knew how to behave while he had the e-collar on, like the guy in the video was using it just as like, all right, we're gonna go to a park and you can go as far as you want, but if I want
Sure.
you to come back, if you can't hear me, I'm using the tone.
Yes.
Because it works up to a half mile away, like,
Yes.
to come back.
Yep.
And that's what, like he
Yeah.
said, he took the prongs off of it.
Okay.
After a while, like he didn't even have to use the prongs. It was
Sure.
just the tone, like, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was.
Yeah.
My question was, like, if it's on there, it's on here for a reason.
Yeah, no, I would say, in my opinion, the only like reasonable application is like a nonverbal recall,
Right.
where you can tone the dog, they hear it, and they know to come back type of thing. But
That's-
too, but we do have family that have a lot of land and everyone brings
Right.
their dogs.
Yeah.
in. Knock on wood, if it ever came to that case and he took off, we're like, oh, let me do that with
Well,
you
and
that
that's-
you'd like to use.
Yes.
Or you need to use.
sure. But I would argue that, except in the case of like hunting dogs, where you want them to go and disappear, hunt, and be able to come back, if a dog is taking off, like a pet dog is taking off to a point where he's disappeared and you can't see him, that's just like big correction.
Right.
Like, don't ever leave where I can't see you again type of thing, to me.
Right.
So,
And we have every intention of having the e-collar on him like in that instance. but
Yes.
We didn't know if there was we were
a
going to
use
change-
for the tone. Yeah, I would say probably for what you guys are going to be doing, not really. If we wanted, once we get to doing recall, if you wanted to teach him both the verbal recall and a tone recall, I'm fine with that. But generally, for like a pet context, even with a ton of space and land, you usually don't really need the tone for that.
The two dogs that live at this home are like hunting dogs too.
Yeah.
The entire property.
Yep.
So not that I'm saying like, oh yeah, sure, go with them.
Yes, yes.
We were just curious.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's kind of typically the only context that usually you would use it.
And then don't forget, or don't let me forget before we leave, I have to schedule more.
Yes, yep, I had a note in there, but yeah, we'll have to do that there. And you said walking was good. He was a little sniffy while walking, it sounds like, a little bit.
Like normal.
Okay.
Dog sniffing.
Cool. Well, why don't we do another walk again today? We'll kind of see where that's at. And then maybe we may do some more socializing and stuff with him. Kind of see if we can pull him out of his shell a little bit more, since you just sat in the corner last time. All right. Yes, so if his butt passes you, you'll say no and give a tap. There you go. And then tell him come to reiterate that command. Go ahead and do that again.
No.
There you go. We'll turn and we'll go down this way. I'll have you go in front with him and I'll trail behind. There you go, again.
No.
Go ahead and tell him come. There you go. Go ahead and turn the level up, I'd say about 10 numbers. So we just want a little bit more of a disengagement when we give that correction than he's given us right now. You can give him a little more leash so that he's got more room to break the position so you can correct it a little bit better. Very good. Again. Very nice. You see how he's kind of slowing down there now when you give the corrections? That's kind of what you want to look for. I'm not against sniffing, and he can sniff as long as he stays with pace and he stays where we would like him to be. I'm okay with it. If you want to give him the opportunity to do more in-depth sniffing and go to the bathroom and do all that kind of stuff, so now go ahead and just keep going with him. If he puts on the brakes, say no and correct him. There you go. If you want to give him that opportunity, that's when you'll just say you're okay and you'll release him to do it. That way it's just crystal clear for him of like when the expectations are to walk and when they are to explore.
I think that was our fault this last week. I was like, oh, well, he's going to use the bathroom, so...
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And you know, if you give him like one freebie every once in a while, it's not the end of the world, but that can become a bad habit for him where then he's just real loosey-goosey all over the place. And the reason why for a dog like him we're being a little bit more structured is because of the reactivity issues that he's had. That gives him a little bit too much freedom on the walk to potentially make some bad choices if he feels like he's pretty loosey-goosey around here.
What kind of doggy is he?
He's a mastiff.
Oh, so pretty.
You can correct him. There you go. Very nice. Good work. We'll cut through the grass so we're out of their way over here.
It's not light enough for you to just use one hand.
Very good. That was pretty great, huh? There's a lot of going on in there. Very nice. Very good. And that's where kind of setting that tone of the parameters that we want in general on the walk, where it really pays off is situations like that. Because say we didn't clearly lay out for him, this is where you're allowed to be when we're walking. And then we get into an environment where everyone is like really crowded, kind of close quarters, and he's all over the place, kind of nervous.
He's leaps and bounds from where he was before class was.
Oh, sure.
People, I don't feel like as much as his distraction. Dogs
Sure.
will still, you know, give
Sure,
us
sure.
attention.
We'll turn and we'll go down this way.
Not like it used to be.
Yes, yes. Oh yeah,
He'll
absolutely.
still- and then he'll know, you know, like, to come back even
Sure.
before you do it, but by far better.
Oh, absolutely. Very good. It just helps him feel more secure, you know, knowing that like you have a standard. Come.
No. Come.
All right, now go ahead, do that one more time.
No. Come.
There we go, good. So ideally, we want to do as little leash help as possible in those situations, because sometimes for a dog like him, when they get, because he darted up there because the big truck scared him, I think. So he went right up in there. When you add the leash pressure, it can make him kind of bear down even more and refuse to come out. So we want to have the leash there if we need it, but ideally we want him to use his brain to actually make the choice to come out to you through the corrections with the e-collar. What's fun is that like over time, as you know, we keep doing this, you'll see him start to like mirror some of the other dogs' behaviors, because he kind of like will take cues from them and be like, oh, this is what dogs do. This is how they behave. Yeah, I mean, and he's clearly uncomfortable in the sense that like he's just not really sure what to do and not confident in that, but he's not really exhibiting any like overtly alarming signs at all. I mean, he's not growling, snarling, snapping, nothing. He's tolerating everything really well. He's just not sure how to behave. Probably the next time I put him in with dogs, we'll pick a dog that is very stable and social and friendly, but kind of like pushy, so that it pokes his buttons a little bit and tries to like get something out of him and kind of see how that goes. But for now, these like dogs that are a little bit more even keel and less imposing are a good option for him, just to help him get a little more comfortable. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for like a young, over crazy, excited puppy that just really wants to play and doesn't really want to take no for an answer. And for a dog like him, while it seems like you'd want dogs like this forever with him, if we allowed him to be with dogs that were super respectful and backed off forever, then we would never push him out of his shell. You know what I mean? So. Oh, Ruthie. She said, why won't your dog play with me? It's so hard to not like intervene and try to like spark up energy and be like, come on, Ernie, go play. But it's important that it happens just kind of organically. Here we go. He said, she touched my butt. Mm-mm. Nope, completely ignore everybody. They said, wow, he moved. Yeah, the reason why we do no petting is just because if you start petting one, they all want petted, and then that creates some competition where then they start kind of getting a little bit, there's a lot of conflict with that.
This is exactly what I want out of them. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to make friends and run around and be crazy.
Exactly. You can just hang out with everybody
Kill
and
anybody.
yes,
That's the good part.
just coexist.
Right.
And that's kind of like we took the dangerous coping mechanisms off the table, right? And corrected for all the aggressive outbursts and stuff. And then now he's trying to figure out and navigate, kind of like with the yard, right? For a while he was like, then I don't even want to go in the yard. And then he was like, oh, so I can do whatever I want in the yard, I just can't do that, you know? And that's kind of where he's going to get with the dogs is like, okay, so there's certain things that are off limits, but I have this wide parameter that I can work within to try and figure out how he fits into that. Look at him. One of you has bad breath, and I smell it, floating through the air at times. I'm thinking, you, Bean?
She's making me laugh how she's just standing here so statuesque.
Yes, Charlie is very stoic. Yeah, you're just even, dependable, predictable. That's you. Yeah, I mean, his body language has been like very receptive in the small doses that they interact with him. Like he doesn't get stiff or tense or anything. He gets a nice, like, even, loose nub wag going. He's still just figuring out what to do and how to reciprocate it. Amid just being exhausted, you know?
Yeah, you saw the camera go right on it.
He said, strike a pose. Yeah, that's where, like, with the socials that we do and stuff, we're very hands-off. Really the only things that we'll correct is, like, outward nuisance behaviors, like jumping up, if they, like, bark out the fence, if they jump on the gates inside, stuff like that. But, and obviously we intervene if it's dangerous. But for the most part, we really just let them be dogs and do what they want.
He acted exactly how I thought he was gonna when he took the muzzle off.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me, I kind of felt like it was like holding it back just from moving.
Just being awkward,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it's a little bit more of its own distraction.
Right, that's how I kind of expected him to react.
What?
My little celebrity dog last
Which one?
week. Champs.
Oh, Stipe's?
Champs dog.
Yep, yep. That was pretty cool.
What's happening?
Sorry, we had to get a potty break in.
That's okay. Hi, dude. Don't do it. What's going on?
Things are good. He's doing so well.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what have you guys been working on? What's been good? What's been bad? Or what's even if there's not bad, what's like even nitpicky little things?
Honestly, like all of the training stuff has been going well. It's more of like the behaviors outside of that. So
Okay.
like still just, he doesn't love his screen.
Okay.
He wakes up at like 4:30 or 5 crying like a sob, like a full sob, not just like a
Really giving you the whole story.
Yeah, like yeah.
And when he does that, do you let him outside?
Usually yes, or like
Okay.
we've rotated of saying like no,
Sure.
and then that sometimes works. Most of the time it doesn't.
When
And
you
it's-
have let him out, does he like go to the bathroom right away? Like, does it seem like he really has to go? Or okay, I got you.
Yeah, he's coming back in because it's like he either wants to eat
Sure.
or he honestly just wants to be
Just out.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, right? And we could find ourselves sometimes in the trap of like we teach the dog to teach us how to let them out, right? So for example, right, if every day at 4:30. He goes with the sobbing and whining and making a scene. And even if 50% of the time we let him outside, right? And we take him out, we're like, all right, fine, we'll take you out, we'll start our day, stuff like that. In his mind, that's an option. Right? Yeah. So if you've confirmed, and I only do this if we've confirmed that the dog does not need to actually go to the bathroom, right? If we've confirmed that he does not need to actually go to the bathroom, he's got to stay in there. And on top of that, if he's making a ruckus in it, we need to actually correct him for that.
Okay.
So if that's a consistent behavior that's happening like every day with him, for your next like 3 or 4 days, put the e-collar on at night, have your remote sitting on your nightstand or something. And if you hear him making a ruckus down there, you can actually tell him no and give him a correction for that, and that will stop it.
I just never knew if we should do that part.
That's okay.
Because of
Yeah.
it being safe, like having something around their neck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, generally the only time that's really a problem is if you're not actually home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like if you really look at like, yeah, worst case scenario, if the collar got snagged on something like while he's in the kennel, like you're gonna hear it. You know what I mean? Like if it's in the house and you're there.
Right.
So.
Okay. Good to know.
But yeah, you could definitely do that. And it's not a long it's not like we need to have it on every single day for the next 3 years. You know what I mean? It really should be like a 5-6 day fix, you know, and then he's past it and then you don't need to have it on at night anymore.
Good. Okay.
So that'll be an easy solution.
Yeah.
What else?
Honestly, he's been doing so well. I mean, I trust him way better outside of the crate now. Like, I don't feel like he has to be graded when I'm working. Like,
Sure. And you work from home, right? Yeah, yeah. Cool.
So he roams around the house. He did well. He's been at my parents' a couple times.
Yep.
There's a lot of dogs there. And
Yep.
he does well, and he still listens to the commands. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, is there anywhere where you've noticed he's like, you have a hard time getting him to do the commands?
Probably like come becomes the hardest when he's in a sea of other dogs and doing other things and he just doesn't want to listen. Where, you know, when you have that like very
distraction.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. When we have like a one-on-one training, it's very easy because he's gonna listen.
Definitely.
But it's definitely the distraction piece.
Okay. Well, we could simulate that exact scenario today. We could let him out with a couple dogs and work some come commands and just kind of see how he does with that.
Yeah.
So.
That'd be great.
Great. All right. Well, you guys can follow me over this way. We'll take him on inside and get cruising. So right off we'll talk about this as soon as we go in. Hey, bag it up, buddy.
To be back.
I know. He's like, all my friends are in there. Okay, there we go. So, great example right there, obviously. Situation where he's a little overstimulated, you know, and that could come from either things that the dog doesn't like or things the dog really likes, obviously, right? In this case, it's something he's really excited to come back in, which is great. I'm obviously happy that he's excited to be here, but you're noticing places where obviously I've seen you say no and give him a correction a bunch of times. How much do you think he actually cares about those corrections you're giving right now? Very minimal, right? So let's start going up pretty substantially. Let's go up maybe like 15 from whatever you're at right now. And then what I want you to do is I want you to pick one command right now. I don't care what it is. It could be bed, it could be down, it could be anything. And I want you to get him into command and enforce that command. And that's gonna be the first thing we do here. He said, got it. Well, did you just tell him bed?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's fine.
So he's on the bed, right?
So he doesn't have to lay on it.
No. Bed, the only criteria is physically be on the bed, right? Said more friends. Look at you, bud. All right, why don't you go ahead and grab his leash, and then I want you to pick a spot somewhere and do a downstay. Excellent. Much better that time. Now, one additional little kind of habit to break. I could tell that you're doing a lot of trying to cue him up with his name, which is fine. You're allowed to say his name first, obviously. But how we don't want to use it is like you were just doing it there, which is repeatedly say the name until we get his attention, then give the command, right? So if we're going to use the name, totally fine. It's got to be a part of the command, though. So I would say Lucky down, right? I'm not going to have like a pause or wait for him to check in or anything like that. I'm going to give that command, and at that point, I'm just going to enforce it if he's too distracted by what's going on under there or whatever it may be.
Right. So he doesn't have to look at it. Yeah. I know. I think the week has been more like me training for me versus.
Well, that's what this is. I always say the board and train, you know, while the dog is here, we're focusing on the dog. Once the dog goes home, we're focusing on the owner, right? These are normal things, you know, and if anything, I would say he's doing better than a lot of dogs do the first week.
Yeah,
So.
he really has been.
said, that's my other person. Very good. Awesome. Why don't you grab the leash and put him on the bed one more time?
He was so good at the vet. I was so.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's do one more downstay. Let's do it over. You could bring him over there and put him into one right over there. Perfect.
His brother's been jealous of all the.
Oh yeah. He said, what the heck? Give me some of those snacks. Have they been getting along good since he's been back?
What's that?
They've been getting along good since he's been back? Yeah.
They play like brothers.
Yep.
That's for sure. Crazy. I mean, they're both young. So, but yeah, they're happy to be with each other.
Very good. We'll give him one more second, and then we're going to start here. Michelle, are you getting ready? What are you getting ready to do?
I was going to socialize her, but if you need the floor, it's fine.
I just need an area. We can go outside. We'll sneak through first here. All right, I'll have you go ahead and follow me over this way.
Okay.
So let him hang out for a second here, kind of sniff around for a minute, and then what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and grab a dog, bring the dog on in, let him kind of do their thing for a little bit, and then we're going to practice a handful of commands. The only rule when I let the dogs in is just ignore them, so don't pet them or anything like that.
Okay.
Come on.
Who's this guy?
This is Tarzan.
Tarzan? Hi.
He gets the serious smile. It's so funny. Like, if people like have never seen that before, they see that and they're like, "Oh my God, what is he doing?"
Too funny.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll let them do their thing for a little bit here, and then we'll practice a couple of commands.
Everything's thick.
Saying it's right up on you.
Yeah, right. These guys, a couple more minutes. All right, so in a minute here, what we're going to do is we're going to work our first come command. So what you'll do is you'll just try to create some distance from him. Once he's kind of, distracted and not paying attention to you, give that come command just one time. You can give him a second to do it. If he doesn't do it, you're going to give a correction for that. You can give him a second there. Yep, tell him no.
No.
And then tell him come again.
Come.
Perfect. And excellent timing with that. They're like, we're doing it.
Got both of you.
Yeah, right? And then go ahead and just tell him okay.
Okay.
And he's free now, obviously. He's like, I'll just lay here.
Yeah, both of them.
Generally, when you're doing like the training exercises in socials, you don't get to work a ton of repetitions because once they get into that training mind, they're kind of in that training mind. Yeah. But it's important to work them periodically. So what I'll generally do is, like, let's say you said your family has a bunch of dogs, right? Let's say you're going and you're hanging out there for the day, you're gonna be there for 4 or 5 hours. Periodically, I'll do like 5 come commands over the course of those 4 or 5 hours. Right? And just each one I'm going to capitalize on and focus on quality of the repetition versus quantity of the repetition. And I'm just going to be very strict on it when I do ask it. As opposed to, like, in that situation, a lot of times people will go, like, when you're just kind of hanging out, right? You'll be like, Lucky, come.
Yeah.
Lucky, come. You know what I mean? And you'll give a couple freebies on it. Yeah. And then you never get to where you want to be, which is when the dog just listens on the first one right away, regardless of the distraction.
Right.
He actually, believe it or not, came here because his owner could not have him around new people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had a lot of like fear aggression issues and stuff.
Oh, wow.
He's a pretty friendly guy, but this is a lot of it with getting past this kind of stuff with dogs like that is just having them just exposed to people and not having them mess with him.
Right.
That's why, like I said, and regardless of who the dog is, I always say, like, don't interact with the dogs. You want them to just get used to being around people, right? And not worrying about them being any sort of threat or anything.
Right.
You know? And that's a great philosophy to adopt, whether you have a dog like him who had fear aggression issues, or just a puppy that you want to make sure you don't develop bad habits, is don't create these like conditioned associations of like, God, every time I'm around people, something really crazy overstimulating happens. Go ahead and do another come command.
Lucky, come.
And give him a second. If he doesn't do it, you're going to correct again for that.
No. Lucky, come.
Perfect. Awesome.
Good boy. That's a good boy.
You can go ahead and release him again.
Okay.
And same deal. Give him another minute, let him hang out. We'll practice maybe a couple more of these. And he's like, I'm on it now.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna go too far. I'm not gonna go too far. Go play with Tarzan.
He said, no thanks.
Yeah.
Lucky, come.
Look at that. You did all the hard work.
Yeah.
And don't worry about a down command right now. All I care about is the come. So when we're doing this kind of stuff, which is like isolating a specific problem we're having, in this case, the come command around dog distractions, I try to not overcomplicate it, because right there, he gave us a really successful come command after 2 failed reps, right? And then if we throw that down into it and he messes that up, he doesn't get to like savor in the victory of, oh, I just did it, right? So pick one thing at a time. And then once you're past that, maybe the next thing you work on is downs around dogs, right? But kind of pick one piece at a time to really hone in. Cool, let's give it a go again.
Lucky, come.
And you can give him a second to let him work through this, obviously.
Come.
Perfect.
Good boy. Good boy.
Now on that repetition right there, did you correct him?
I did.
Okay, little early on the correction, right? Because you could tell he was, when he heard that command, he was trying to do the right thing. It's not like he was like, ah, screw you, I'm busy sniffing over here. He went to a person, right? Now, if he ultimately committed to that decision and like stayed next to her, I would have corrected, definitely. But I want to give him a minute to fix himself first, right? Especially if we could tell it's not disobedience, he's just a little confused.
Come.
So give him a second. Because you could see, obviously, the gears turning in his head on that repetition, right? Very good.
Come.
And that was the best one yet.
Good boy. Good boy.
Very good.
I knew his recall was better because he likes to be with us.
Yeah,
Our oldest one.
sure.
Okay.
Lucky, come.
Perfect.
Good boy.
That was great.
That's a good boy. Good job.
Tarzan's like, this is
Good job,
fun.
Tarzan.
This is fun. Hi, buddy. I know.
Okay. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Lucky, come.
He's got it.
Good boy.
And you can see how it clicked, right? And that's how we do it, right? So you pick one command, work through whatever hurdle it is that you have, then let him have a handful of successful repetitions until you see him confident in the choice, like that. Because that looked great. So let me put this dude away real quick and we'll jump into something else. So you said sometimes you want him to stay on the couch instead of a bed.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Any reason?
I don't know. Just maybe depending on like where we are and if he's
Down?
bad things.
I understand.
Yeah.
So it's more like sometimes you just don't have the space to actually have a bed
Yes.
around.
Or yeah, we're at someone else's house.
That's why we teach it down also, right? Bed is for situations where we have some sort of physical position we could send you to, right? Down is for literally anywhere else.
Yeah, that's what I
Right?
assumed, yeah.
So, and honestly, like at this point, like I use bed stays sometimes with my dogs, but we don't have beds in our like living areas in our house.
Right.
mostly because our cat will pee on them if we do, right? So at this point, like how I usually instruct people to do bed stays, like when guests come over or something like that, we just do down stays with our dogs for that now.
Okay, yeah, that's kind
So
of what I
yeah, just use your down, you know, universally in place of it if you don't have a bed handy.
Okay, makes sense.
So the bed is nice sometimes for like long duration. Like if I'm gonna do like an hour and a half long bed stay or down stay, putting them on a nice cozy bed somewhere or something like that, sometimes I feel like is a little nicer, you know?
Yeah.
But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna work a couple down stays out here.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you this. Feeling a little more confident in dropping that leash?
Yes, yeah,
Nice.
for sure. Because he's doing so well.
So you could go ahead and release them whenever you want. Go ahead and take them somewhere relatively far away from us and put them into a down stay.
Okay. Okay.
And why don't you come over here? He's not going anywhere. Yeah. We are secure completely, like this side, yeah. And it's just up to us to play a defensive line here. We'll give him a minute or so, and then he can go back, grab him, and put him somewhere else. There we go. We got a little cat back there, too. Cool. Why don't you go ahead and grab him and put him somewhere else? Has he ever been around cats before? Oh, yeah? Oh, really? So what I want you to do here is I want you to give him the come command, and you're going to work that off-leash heeling just in this area a little bit.
Lucky, come.
It's pretty good. Why don't you do one more lap around? Looks great. So now go ahead and pick a spot somewhere and put him into a down. Awesome. Then go ahead and leave him there. Being able to reinforce that stuff, you know?
It's been nice because the come command definitely, he doesn't get into stuff as much on his
Sure.
walks.
Yeah. Yeah, he's focused in. Yeah, uh-huh.
That he has a job to do.
There's something about like highly produced little kid songs that is so creepy.
Yeah, it's a lot right now.
Yeah, that's a good question. Awesome. And why don't you bring him back over here again? And you could pop him back into a down.
Down.
And you can go ahead and put this guy back on him once you reward him. That focus. Cool. And then I'm going to have you go ahead and kind of heel him over by your car and then put him into a down stay next to it.
Come.
How's it going? Yeah, he looks fantastic. You know, make those couple little adjustments, obviously, that'll get you kind of the next step. And what I want to do is we'll book one more session here just to kind of put him through one more test. We'll take him up to Edgewater or something and just do some distraction work, make sure everything looks good, and then let you guys work with it for a little bit.
Sounds good.
So.
Awesome.